unjust suffering. I'm dealing with it right this very moment. My father, who was a very good man by all accounts, I don't think there's a person in the world who would say my father was a bad man. In fact, my father is a believer in Jesus, a follower of Jesus. So what more could you want than a father who's a good, moral man who worked very hard his whole life to raise his family, to secure his family, to feed his family, to help them have a good life, devoted himself to his children and his wife, and in addition to that, is a follower of Jesus. But right now, for the last 3.5 years, my father has been bedridden. And inch by inch, my father has been suffering and dying from an assortment of illnesses. He's now 82 years old. And I go to see him every day that I'm in town. He lives in my hometown. And I sit with him and realize that he is suffering beyond measure. Disappointment. This is what my life ends up being. He's suffering pain. He's suffering the rejection and the isolation that comes from living in a bed for the last 3.5 years. And because of modern medicine, he could likely be kept alive for another 7 or 8 years the way he is. It's a terrible thing for a son to watch his father, who loved him so much, end his life that way. And I talked to my father about this a lot because he recently has gone through a bout with cancer, and we actually had to go to the point of discussing whether he wanted exploratory surgery and chemotherapy and those kinds of things, or just wanted to resign himself to the cancer taking whatever path it took. And he looked at me, and I was forlorn. I was going mad at the time because I just didn't know what to say. But he said to me, "Rich, what would you do?" And I said, "Dad, this is your life, not mine. What would you do, Rich? I want to know what you would do." And I said to him just as boldly as I could, and this was not an easy thing for me to say as a son that adores his father and admires him so much. I said to him, I said, "Do you feel, are you sure that your future, that your eternity is secure? Do you know where you're going, Dad?" And he said, "Yes, I do." Years ago, my father gave his life to Christ, and so he's very confident of what the future holds for him after death. And I said, "Well, let me just ask you this way. Is life so precious to you in this world now, in the condition that you're in, that you want to extend it just as long as you possibly can, and that you want to go through all the suffering and pain that you'll have to go through to extend it?" And he just said, "No. I've lived my life. I've had good and I've had bad. But I know where I'm going, and I know there it's going to be good." And even though that saddens me, because I don't want to see him die, at least I have this hope. And a lot of people don't even have this shred of hope that there might be something on the other side that will be good for my father. And I want that kind of hope in my life. And I have found it in my own faith in Christ, and my father found it in his days of desperation in his faith in Christ too.